Ryan Weathers leaves the game after the 5th inning, and after that, the bullpen implodes and the Cubs blow out the Marlins.
You are Locked On Marlins, your daily podcast on the Miami Marlins.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into Locked On Marlins. I'm your host, Jeremiah Geiger. I've been podcasting about the Marlins for 3 seasons. Go hit me up on X at Jeremiah Geiger 2. And thank you for making Locked On Marlins your first listen of the day. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, which is your team every day. Don't forget to hit subscribe on the YouTube channel and let me know your thoughts down in the comment section. And on today's show, I'm going to talk about the decision to pull Ryan Weathers after the 5th inning. He had a pitch count. That's what Clayton McCullough said. The pitch count was 85. But nonetheless, in the present moment, it cost the Marlins. The bullpen, led by Calvin Fauché, went downhill in the 6th inning. The Cubs blow out Miami. And I'm also going to talk about the aggressiveness of this team as an organization. Are they being too passive and timid when it comes to making big decisions? Also talk about a surprise suitor for Sandy Alcantara, and Yuri Perez is making his return, one step closer to making his return to the major leagues. But this episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. So Ryan Weathers gets his second start of the season against the Cubs again. And going into this one, I didn't really know what to expect because although he looked really good his first time out, there's a lot of adrenaline. You're back pitching on a major league mound. It's a lot different than the minors and your rehab assignments. And you're facing a really good lineup who's now going to get you twice. They get to see you twice. And Weathers looked good. He erased doubts that I had when it came to his control and his ability to maintain the velocity. He averaged 97.3 miles an hour on the fastball, hit 99 miles an hour, and in terms of control, he didn't walk anyone through 5 innings. So he was at 80 pitches after the 5th. Clayton McCullough pulls him and goes to Calvin Fauché out of the pen, who this was just a day to forget for Fauché. He doesn't record a single out, gives up 5 hits, 6 earned runs, 1 walk, and that's it. ERA balloons up to 5.63 on the year. Just an outing that he wants to forget entirely. Just flush it, move forward. But that was it for the Marlins. It was a 1-1 game. That 6th inning just completely got away from them, and the bullpen, they go on to lose the game 14-1. If you're just a casual sports fan or baseball fan, you look at the box score, maybe you weren't watching the game, and you see a 14-1 blowout. The Marlins were in this thing from the start. Ryan Weathers gave them a really good outing. It's just one bad inning, and then in the 9th inning, the position player, Javier Sanoja, came into pitch, and they were swinging away. He gives up 5 runs. So it went from 9-1 to 14-1. So I just want to put that out there. This wasn't a disaster from the start. The Marlins were actually in this thing up until the 6th inning. Now, was he pulled too soon? So I do have a thought on this. Look, Clayton McCullough said he was on a pitch count entering this one from the start. He said that in the post game. I saw a tweet from Fish on First Kevin Burrell, who said that 85 pitches is a decent amount for somebody who was limited in his rehab starts. He wasn't throwing the ball a ton, so 85 pitches was the limit. You get to 80. Obviously, the odds are not in your favor that you're going to go out in the 6th inning and have a 5-pitch 6th. And that's why they decided to pull him after 5. But at that point, I think you got to use the eye test a little bit too. I know internally you had a decision that you made from an organizational perspective. Hey, we're going to go into this game knowing that Weathers is only going 85 pitches max. But at that point, would it have really hurt the Marlins to run him out there for the 6th and just see how it went? If he gives up a base hit, if he walks a guy, okay, then you can reevaluate. But he was rolling. He was cruising along. All in all, again, no walks. That's the key right there. He gave up a home run early in the first inning, but threw up a bunch of zeros after that. So I understand the decision from Clayton McCullough. I don't necessarily know if that was his decision. I think this goes above his pay grade, where the organization wants to be careful with a really good pitcher. Weathers is great. He has the potential to be an all-star, in my opinion. And you don't want to throw him into the fire and give him 110 pitches and blow out his arm or anything like that. But I do think he could have gone out there for the 6th and just see how it went. There's a big difference, in my opinion, for the bullpen having to cover 7, 8, 9 than 6, 7, 8, 9. That's just how I look at it. I don't think it would have hurt the Marlins to throw him out there for the beginning of the inning and see where it went. Because ultimately, that's what cost them the game. Weathers gets pulled after 80 pitches. At first, I thought it was 90. I was listening to the radio broadcast right around that time, and they said that he was pulled after 90. That's what I heard. I must have misheard it because when I looked at the box score, it was 80 pitches. And I was like, whoa, he got taken out a little bit earlier than I expected. If it was 90 pitches through 5, I completely understand the perspective of the Marlins. You don't want to go out there and throw him over 100. That wasn't the plan to begin with. But it cost them the game. And every win matters in baseball. You're not punting games just because you're a rebuilding team. So that's what I have to say about that situation. Coming up next, I'm going to talk about the aggressiveness of this organization as a whole. Much like the Ryan Weathers situation, they were a little bit passive. And I think they're a little bit passive and not as aggressive as I want them to be when it comes to building and constructing this team and the personnel decisions behind it. I'm going to explain why right after this. This episode is brought to you by our friends over at Monarch Money. Do you ever check your bank account and wonder, where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and you start building wealth. Instead of juggling multiple apps, you can use Monarch to check your finances, track spending, and even plan long-term goals. Managing your money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. So take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. If you're an everyday listener to Locked On Marlins, thank you for being part of the Locked On Marlins crew. Share the podcast with any of your Marlins friends who want that daily content Monday through Friday right here on the YouTube channel and anywhere you get your podcasts. If this is your first time checking out Locked On Marlins, hope you stay with us. Hit that subscribe button, leave a like, and let me know your thoughts in the comments section. The aggressiveness of the Marlins. When it comes to organizations throughout Major League Baseball, it's pretty clear who's aggressive and who's not. And there's different ways you can gauge this. For example, the Mets are very aggressive when it comes to spending money. Steve Cohen is a very active owner. He's a fan of the team that he owns. He wants them to win a World Series. And they prove it. They go out and spend insane boatloads amount of money. Now, the Pirates, for example, is what I would call very, very passive. They they've made some really good draft picks. They've had talent in their system over the last few years that Marlins fans and the Marlins organization would love to have, but they don't seem to want to do anything with it. Let's look at Paul Skeens, for example. Paul Skeens made his debut last year, and there's already talks of the Pirates eventually trading Paul Skeens. Like, that's ridiculous to me. He is a generational talent, and the question is, the Pirates could trade him and receive this huge haul. That's ridiculous. They're throwing out there a triple-A lineup. He has no help whatsoever. They don't want to construct a team around him. Pirates fans deserve a lot better. That's passiveness. Ultimate passive organization. You look at the Pittsburgh Pirates. Now, I'm a Marlins fan, and I'm not saying we are not passive, and I'm not saying we're super aggressive either. I think the Marlins fall a little bit between those two, because you see the aggressiveness in terms of trades. The Marlins are making trades with Peter Bendix with a goal in mind. They have a plan in order to rebuild this team and do it the right way. Now, the execution of those trades is what it all hinges on. Agustin Ramirez, you get him in the Jazz Chisholm trade, great deal. You get Kyle Stowers and Connor Norby for Trevor Jadaniel Rogers, great deal. Now, Jesus Luzardo, this is what I want to talk about. You have a pitcher who had a phenomenal 2023, has elite stuff across the board. I mean, he has swing and miss with a bunch of his pitches. The slider is an elite pitch. He added a sweeper this offseason. Anyways, he has an injury-riddled season in 2024. You could have traded him after that 23 season when you decided internally you want to rebuild, but they don't. They're not going to pull the trigger on a trade. And then you wait and you keep waiting, and you were going to trade him at the deadline. I have no doubt about that. And unfortunately, he gets injured. And then the Marlins say, well, we got to trade him now. We got to get something for him. And over the offseason, with multiple years of control, mind you, they ship off Jesus Luzardo to a division rival. I've talked about this on the podcast before, but it feels like that trade in particular, the Marlins just settled. They completely settled. They accepted the circumstances that happened upon them. Yes, Jesus Luzardo getting hurt in 2024 was not part of the plan. I get that. Sandy Alcantara having Tommy John surgery and missing all of 2024 was not part of the plan. But it's baseball. Baseball is volatile. Things are going to change. You have to adapt. And you have to always be aggressive. I don't know if the Pirates are ever going to be a winning team in my lifetime at this point. Same with the Rockies. The Marlins, at least, I truly feel, I'm biased, but I truly feel that there is a plan in place, but there's been some obvious bumps in the road. It's a learning curve for Peter Bendix. He's not a seasoned general manager or president of baseball operations. There's going to be things that are unpopular, that fans disagree with. But the Jesus Luzardo situation in particular, if you want to trade him after 2023. Don't wait until after an injury-filled season to trade him away to a division rival and get back a cheap return. No disrespect to Starlin Caba, but Jesus Luzardo is worth a lot more than that. How can the Marlins continue this aggressive mindset in improving this team in the current stage right now? It starts with personnel decisions. Look at who the Marlins have on their roster right now. Let's take a quick run across the diamond and go position by position, and you tell me in the comment section what you think the future of these players are. Kyle Stowers looks like a building block. You have Jesus Sanchez, he's expendable. Center field, Derek Hill, Dane Myers, who's on the injured list. Dane Myers is having a breakout season. I hope he comes back healthy. Derek Hill, expendable. Third base, Connor Norby, building block. Shortstop, gaping hole at shortstop. Xavier Edwards is not the long-term answer there. Second base, Otto Lopez, Javier Sanoja. Sanoja profiles as a utility player. Can he stick around? Sure. But he's very young. He has a lot of room to improve. But he's a young player. And he's limited in what he can do. Otto Lopez, still want to see him get into a groove, but 2024 looked good. The beginning of 2025 looked good. I like Otto Lopez as a player. Catcher, Agustin Ramirez, building block. Liam Hicks, one of the best picks of the Rule 5 draft. If not below Shane Smith of the White Sox. If not for Shane Smith, he's the best pick of that entire Rule 5 draft. Liam Hicks is a really good hitter, deserves more playing time. He has a future on this team. In some capacity, it's going to happen. Nick Fortes, expendable. You're seeing the point here. These players that the Marlins are running out, yes, it's an exciting team. I love the Marlins. I love that they show up to work every day and they battle, and they're going to battle to the end. But a lot of these players, haven't even mentioned first base, I'm getting to that, are not part of the long-term plans. This is what happens when you're a rebuilding team. These players are going to come, they're going to fill their roles, they're going to move on. We've seen this happen many times over the last decade with the Marlins. So many players come and go. It's the nature of the sport. First base. What are we doing here at first base? That's what I got to ask. Are we going to settle for Matt MVvis as your cleanup hitter as he hit tonight? Hitting cleanup against the Cubs. He's hitting right now a $185. He got a base hit today. So good job, Matt MVvis. No, I don't think you should. You know what it really feels like? The Marlins are hoping that Matt MVvis just gets hot and starts hitting home runs. And then he's worth the roster spot because he's hitting the homers. But when he's not doing that, and like there's no point for him being on the roster if he continues these struggles. There was a tweet I saw earlier today in which Craig Mish said on Marlins Live, hey, Troy Johnston could be a potential call-up if the Matt MVvis struggles continue. That is aggressiveness. Pulling the trigger on a failed experiment, just getting it out of there, and bringing in a player who's earned an opportunity. Is Troy Johnston one of the top prospects in your system? No. But you know what? He's hit at every level he's been at. And I'm confident in saying that he's going to come up to the major leagues and hit as well. That would be an aggressive action. You're not just passively sitting back, hey, we made our transaction. We brought in Matt MVvis. He's going to stick around the whole season. No. Aggressiveness in 2025 for the Marlins means giving players the opportunity to prove themselves. If they do, that's great. And if they don't, find somebody who hasn't been given that opportunity and let them take that role. That's what the Marlins can do at first base. Agustin Ramirez, Liam Hicks, those guys eventually can move over to first, but those plans haven't been made clear. The Marlins in 2026 defensively could look a lot different. I don't think you're going to see the Marlins carry 3 catchers in 2026. I don't even think the Marlins carry 3 catchers the rest of the season. It's a unique position that the Fish are in. But you always have to be aggressive. You have to attack the game, attack the sport. You can't just let things happen to you, and when they don't work out, just settle for it. Davison De Los Santos is another name. if he gets healthy, I saw him pull a hamstring the other day in a minor league game. It looked like running to first base. But when he's healthy, when is that call-up going to happen? And this isn't saying rush your top prospects or get guys up here when they're not ready. You always have to be on the go. No. But what I am saying is that in a season like 2025, when you're not really going anywhere, you're not going to make the postseason, don't settle for a mediocre or subpar performance when you have other players out there who need opportunities. Sandy Alcantara is going to be the biggest storyline of the next couple months for the Marlins. From an outsider's perspective, in the grand scheme of the Major League Baseball world, Sandy Alcantara is where it starts and ends with the Marlins, and how that impacts their future, how the Marlins handle him. It's going to leave ripples in the water for years if they make the right decision and if they make the wrong decision. I have a potential suitor for the Marlins that I'm going to tell you about right after this. Quick reminder for all of you watching on YouTube, if you're listening to the podcast, you already know the drill. But if you're watching on YouTube, you can't make it to your TV or your laptop, your phone, wherever you're watching. Remember, you can listen on the go. Every podcast platform out there, Locked On Marlins, is going to have you covered Monday through Friday. Sandy Alcantara, the big storyline for the Fish. Everybody is going to be talking about Sandy Alcantara, especially if he starts getting into a groove. I guarantee you he will. It's just a matter of time. Now, if he does get into this groove that I'm expecting, does he get traded? That's the question. It's the $1 million question. If so, where? I saw an article here. I have it pulled up. It's sportsillustrated.com, St. Louis Cardinals. And the headline's simple. Surging Cardinals should consider reunion with $56 million ace. And they say the Cardinals could afford to add some controllable talent at the trade deadline this season. And the article pretty much states, hey, Sandy Alcantara has been struggling, but it's not just about this year. It's about the year after as well, and the year after that. The Marlins are in a really good position with Sandy Alcantara that they don't have to deal him this season. But what makes the potential trade and trade return so enticing is the fact that Sandy Alcantara, given his track record, teams are going to believe and expect the production to, yes, get better in the short term, but in the long term, what's he going to look like in 2026 when he's a full season removed from returning from Tommy John? So his first season back, 2025, it was rusty, but 2026, he gets back to that prime vintage Sandy Alcantara form. St. Louis Cardinals are an interesting option here. When I really started to think about it, they're performing above expectations. The Cardinals weren't expected to necessarily compete, but they also weren't expected to be horrible. And like the Rockies or the Marlins expectations, they were supposed to be horrible as well. But the Cardinals, they have a good point here. You trade for him. If it works out this season and you're in contention, maybe you make a playoff run. If not, you have a really good pitcher in 2026 and potentially 2027 to make things go. And in my opinion, with Sandy Alcantara, it starts and ends with the return. It's as simple as that. I love Sandy. I love him as a Marlin. I want to see him be a Marlin for as long as possible. But I want to see this team in the postseason. And the reality of the situation is whatever is best for the team in order to get them back into winning. I want to see this team win more than I want to see Sandy Alcantara remain a Marlin. If Sandy figures it out and teams get desperate at the deadline, if the St. Louis Cardinals feel like they're one move away and they're willing to make a big trade, you got to listen to these offers. I'm just really fascinated by this whole situation. I'm going to continue to talk about it over the next couple of months. It goes back to aggressiveness as well. You don't want to be passive and let everything happen to you. You dictate the terms when it comes to trading or not trading Sandy Alcantara. Don't sit back and accept anything. You can't have a Jesus Luzardo type deal here. No. Because otherwise you're just settling and you don't have faith that in 2026 he's going to be better. He's either traded at the deadline or traded in the offseason. That's what it's going to be. Be aggressive. You dictate the terms. You have to get the right return. You do not settle for a Sandy Alcantara trade. The Marlins have another ace in their organization. He's on his way back. On Thursday, he will be making a rehab start in AAA Jacksonville for the Jumbo Shrimp, Yuri Perez. Yuri Perez, his return to the major leagues fascinates me as well. I think Yuri Perez is as talented as they come. He is a unicorn when it comes to pitching. He stands 6'8", throws 100 miles an hour, has great secondaries, gets a ton of strikeouts, and looks the part of a $250 million pitcher at one point in his career, at some point in the future. How they handle Yuri Perez, how they handle his workload, that's all super important for the future of this team. He is a prized gem in this organization. There's no doubt about that. Is he as elite as the Marlins want him to be, as the fan base wants him to be? I think it's too early to tell. I think he had 19 starts in 2023, somewhere around there, give or take, maybe a few more. I don't have the numbers pulled up exactly. He showed flashes of greatness, like he can be a Cy Young winner. That's evident. But is he going to come off the injured list, come out of his rehab assignments and just start firing and be, the 2022 Sandy Alcantara, the next Marlins Cy Young winner one day? Sure, one day, but immediately, I don't know about that. Temper your expectations for Yuri Perez. Anytime a pitcher is coming off of a surgery, and as young as as Yuri Perez is, there's still a lot for him to learn at the major league level, to develop and grow into becoming the best version of himself he can be. All I'm saying is that there's going to be hills and valleys with the return of Sandy Alcantara, or with Yuri Perez. I keep confusing them here. When Yuri Perez comes back, there's going to be ups and downs, and that's the nature of the game. Just like Ryan Weathers, they're going to be careful with Yuri. He's too talented of a player, of a pitcher, to just throw caution to the wind. So in this episode, Ryan Weathers, he may have got pulled too soon, in my opinion. I understood why they did it, though. Moving forward, maybe that pitch count continues to increase. The aggressiveness of this Marlins team, you have to find a fine balance, a fine median between passiveness and all-out throw caution to the wind, spend money like crazy, and just go haywire. The Marlins are still, I think, trying to find their footing. Peter Bendix is trying to find their footing. The big thing with this, it starts with dictating the terms for a potential Sandy Alcantara trade. And finally, handle Yuri Perez the right way. Temper your expectations off the jump. He's got all the potential in the world to be great, but remember, he's still so young. There's still so much that he's yet to prove over a full season in the major leagues. That's going to do it for today's edition of Locked On Marlins. Hopefully, the Marlins go out on Wednesday and take this series. It's a 1:10 Eastern Time first pitch. Max Meyer takes the hill. Be great to see Max Meyer pitch really well, get back to the form we saw him at the beginning of the season. For your second listen of the day, go check out the new Locked On MLB Game Night. Every game, every night, they do the recap over there on the Locked On MLB channel. And until next time, guys, stay safe, stay locked on, and let's go fish.